from Dalek Emperor Productions.
Exterminate!
War. What does it bring? What does war bring to society? Death, dishonor, or starvation? War is indeed what brings these consequences together. But war is not fought by soldiers or guns. War is fought with economics, resources, and oil. As one Bismarck said, wars are fought with iron and blood. That is how I was born. I was created by Davros and his scientific division, which was working for the Khalid fascist government. What I saw in the bunkers was men scrambling for ammunition and resources. They were searching for weapons and devices. It was clear to me that this was a consequence of their lack of economic sufficiency. At the time, I was a drone who fought in the trenches. And gas of war outside of the bunkers and paranoia. I saw brave men dying from bullets and radiation. I saw the trenches fill with corpses. Props to trick the enemy to think they were full. This experience in the trenches brought a new reality to me, that war was inevitable. Two civilizations could not coexist unless they either were a colony of one, or they had the same culture. It was clear my species, the Daleks, must be the superior of all, and that we have a path to greatness and glory for the future. Soon, a strange figure arrived. He called himself the Doctor. He had tried to to stop the war, but eventually failed. Eventually, the war ended. However, with no one being victorious except for the Daleks, we had no choice but to eliminate our old creator Davros and his ridiculous little band of scientists and the rest of the Khalids. The Thals fled or transformed into horrid mutated creatures. Unfortunately, we were trapped into the bunkers of the old society, which was decimated. Years later, the Supreme Dalek, our Supreme Dalek, discovered that my brain was glowing unstoppably, and that I had some psychological powers which I could help for the future of the Dalek race. So, I was offered a new casing which covered my vast, superior brain in tempered glass with metal bars on it. Thus, I quickly began rising through the ranks of the Empire and become the governor of the East Mondasian Company. They were a group of Mondasians. These Mondasians were a group of Cybermen who were desperate to survive. Henceforth, we began exiting the bunkers. Me and my fleet reached Mondas and the trade deals with the Cybermen, and we got ports and economic centers on the specific moon. I later discovered that I had more potential, so I retired from my position as governor of the East Mondas Company. After that, I began entering my political career and soon began influencing the Emperor on some decisions to improve the Daleks. Soon, a Dalek named Zeg got into the picture. I was disgusted by his doctrine and his band of fanatics, so I created my own division called the Dalek Imperial Restoration and Protection Division, which was tasked to protect the Emperor's interest and terminate Zeg's little band. Sooner or later, me and my division arrived where Zeg and his operatives were. We busted in, and I said, "Halt, Zeg!" I moved forward with some infantrymen. Your treachery shall now end. Surrender, and I shall spare you. Zeg began laughing hysterically, and I began using some skills from my political career and said, "See, he is no Dalek, he is nothing but a mutated virus, which shall infect us all." His group didn't listen, so I yelled to Zeg, "Surrender now, or you will be exterminated. Allocated surrender period has expired. Consequence extermination." Thus I began firing with my division. Zeg began to fire, then something happened. Some sounds were coming from above, and explosions, where I told my division to keep firing, and then I went out and saw saucers flying in the sky shooting our radio stations. I immediately called the Naval Department, telling them on what was happening. And requested naval response to these traitors. Explosion beams and fire could be seen. The sky was a dark red. I immediately snapped out of it and ran back into the hangar, in which my division was fighting Zeg. Zeg's Daleks were brave warriors, all with honor to their leader, but they were still traitors. That's what my instinct was. Then, in that moment, I realized that the Dalek brain was backwards, and I could not think outside the box, so I began splitting my division into corps, which would separately deal with the enemy by attacking from all sides, circling their army and destroying it. My new strategy worked, and Zeg's forces were totally obliterated. Only the leader remained. "Surrender, Zeg, and I shall show you mercy." He only laughed and began to tell me in a crazy tone,
I am invincible. I cannot die. I am the true Emperor of the Daleks.
I was disgusted by his arguments and talks, so there was only one outcome. In a second, I ordered my division to fire on the rebel, which they did so. On all sides of Zeg's casing, it was filled with holes, and most of it became black. Only a few parts were still colored. After the fight, I went to the Emperor's chamber and told him, "Zeg has been exterminated, though I suspect the remnants of his resistance are still present in our empire." "Well then," the Emperor said, "the remnants of his band have been exterminated. It doesn't surprise us."
Yes, but they are a threat to our empire. They might strike at any moment.
Without a central command, I doubt. So anyways, it is not your matter of business. Understood? Thus I left the room, outraged by the incompetence shown by the current emperor. So, I soon planned a coup against him, though it seemed not to be necessary because a few moments later, after our victory, he had been assassinated by a fan of Zeg. I immediately stepped in and immediately proclaimed myself as emperor. A not experienced young Dalek who didn't know how to rule an empire soon became a political tool in order to control everything, since at the time our empire had a system called divine rule. Divine inspiration, which stated that an emperor cannot be questioned, cannot be ruled, or cannot be suspicioned. And due to this principle, I managed to influence Dalek politics. I began to reorganize the empire, making industrial power and oil extraction centers. Other economic centers were useful to the empire. Though, after this, the emperor had a new passion, the passion of being dead. So soon, he was replaced by a new great emperor. Under him was a golden age until the Doctor arrived and ruined our plans, leading a rebellion and destroying our empire. After the massive attack on our capital, I blacked out on a saucer, and my casing ran out of power. I laid there for a long time until I woke up. I was lost in the galaxy. And I was panicked. But soon, I reached a planet and got some energy cells from a local merchant and powered my saucer. I soon opened a screen which showed me a social media website called YouTube and found a channel named The Supreme Dalek, and I soon established contact. After some days, I reached Skaro and greeted the Supreme. Greetings, Emperor. Thanks all.